I'm going to tell you a little known fact about both of them that they did not share in their presentation. So Alex actually was through the first pitch for the Kansas City Royals for the 5th annual Scout Day 5K in April. You didn't share that with us.
They won last night.
And they won last night, exactly. So that's why it's even more appropriate. And then Larry, one of the things I know he mentioned a lot about his interest in sustainability, but it's been even from prior to when he went to the Amazon. He also worked with his school cafeteria to help them kind of look at recycling and reusing their materials. He worked with the school to post no idle zones in front of the school. So there's some other things that, just didn't share with us that I thought would be interesting for you to know. So on my left is Maddie Caldwell. She is the 2014-2015 Venturing President. She's only been involved for 5 years in venturing and is already president, so that's quite an accomplishment. And she's been very excited about participating in venturing, and she's from the Greater Alabama Council, and she's a junior at Birmingham Southern College. And what I thought was interesting, and I wanted to share with you, she has 4 term goals for her role as being the National Venturing President and working with the cabinet. She's going to increase awareness of venturing both inside and outside of Scouting. And that's, looking at working with colleges to increase awareness of the Summit Award and rise it up to a higher level. That's one. And then implement some of the changes that have been discussed with venturing. And then third is to improve retention and membership by forming strong council VOAs. And then this one was kind of like, I thought it was great. It was something that we're all getting involved in, and we have a new scouting university, and that's to update the professional training modules for venturing. They haven't been updated for quite a while, so that's her term goals for her year as being president. And then Andrew King. He is the senior patrol leader for NYLT Leadership Academy, and he's also for the Alpine Course Directors Conference. He's from Fitchburg, Massachusetts. He's an Eagle Scout, a Virgil Honor member of the Order of the Arrow, and a sophomore at Suffolk University in Boston.
Now a junior.
Now a junior, excuse me, yes. So another thing that I thought was interesting about Andrew is he has very strong life principles, things that he believes in and wants to live by. And that first one is servant leadership. We can all apply and relate to that. The second one is positive living. We've talked a lot about some of the speakers. There's a tendency with sustainability to talk about some of the negative aspects of what happens with sustainability, but Andrew is looking at things from a very positive way. And then thirdly is the dedication to improving himself and then also improving your interactions with others. Again, that fits in with what we've been talking about. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask maybe 1 or 2 questions, and then I'm going to open it up to all of you to ask some questions. We've heard a lot about, your experiences, and I've told a little bit about your experiences, but you all came here with very different views of what sustainability means and how it affects you in your day-to-day life. So what I'd like for each of you to do, and I'll start with Maddie, is kind of talk about what sustainability means to you and how it affects your day-to-day life.
Okay, so when I came out here, actually, they talked yesterday about how some young people don't know about sustainability. Well, of course, I knew about being green and all of that, but I had never really been introduced to the word and some of the concepts that come with it that we've been talking about here this week. So I've really enjoyed that. And then yesterday, with the walk and talk that we did, that was enjoyable to me also. So to me, sustainability is a really personal thing. So I really love people, and the person I was talking to yesterday, we talked about how much those two go together, how much sustainability is about people and about us becoming a world that understands that a person, is a person. It doesn't matter who they are still a person, and they still have basic human rights. And so that's kind of what it means to me. To me, a perfect world would be that, and that's kind of it drives what I'm trying to do in my life and the things that I do from day to day, trying to be a better person and to help other people realize that they are valuable no matter who they are.
Great. And Andrew, that fits a lot with some of your life principles, so I'd like for you to expand upon that.
It definitely does. For me, sustainability is this ecological, green, physical thing, but it's also a metaphysical as well as intrinsic thing for me. I believe that it's a mindset that we all need to adopt. There's a lot of different things we can do all over the place, but what we need to do first is change the perception of how we interpret the world. And in terms of that, that's the sustainability aspect. And so by skewing that mental image, that cognitive relationship with the earth, I feel like that would be the biggest step in actually changing things for the better. And that starts, just as Maddie was saying, and as Alex and Larry were saying, starts with the troops and the youth and building that from that level, from the ground up. Because, I mean, for years I've been talking to my parents about solar panels and composting and all that other stuff. So the kid's really pounding away. We heard Hayes talking about yelling to his mom from the back seat of the car. Youth have such a strong power, and that curiosity and that drive to take care of the world starts with the kids.
It's true. Now, Larry, obviously you've been involved from probably this big.
Yeah.
So you're going to be coming at it from, thinking about it, acting upon it, and so forth. So why don't you share some of your thoughts?
Well, it's definitely hard to follow up after that response. That was great. But sustainability to me is it's just living in relations with the earth, being recycling, composting, being as green as possible, reducing your waste on the environment, just reducing your overall footprint, just leaving no trace, as we all do when we're camping, and just living in relationship with the earth perfectly, and not harming it. Walking as much as you can, riding your bike, taking mass transit or anything like that, just reducing the impact that you as an individual have on the environment, and together, everybody working individually, it makes a huge impact, and I think that's what sustainability is really. It's just everybody working together, doing their own thing though, and reducing their individual impact.
And I think that's one of the things we've been hearing through this whole summit is it can be a collective effort, but it starts with an individual effort.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we keep hearing, and that's what all of us are saying up here. So, Alex, how about yourself?
Yeah, going along with what Larry said, I think sustainability really involves, people living in relation to the earth in a way that, we're going to be able to accomplish what we need to accomplish and what we can today, but that isn't going to jeopardize us in the future and isn't going to jeopardize the earth in the future. There's, a list of, I think it's like 8 planetary boundaries that, are critical to, sustainability and the earth's survival. It's like biodiversity, water levels, and there's about 8 of them, and currently 4 or 5 or 6 are way out of balance, where humans are really infringing on what is a safe level that we could continue to live upon. And so it's very important that we kind of assess that and keep in check, how much stress we're putting on the ecosystem and on the earth, because sustainability really involves, scaling that back.
As you probably just heard, everyone, each of the panelists have a very distinct view of what sustainability means to them, how it affects them in their day-to-day life. Now, coming into the summit, you came in with some knowledge and some thoughts, but what have you learned that's been something different that you're going to take back and implement when you go forward? Because that was actually one of the things you said, go forward and do something. So, Andrew, what has been different from you, and what are you going to do personally?
Well, I know that I was here last year, and I enjoyed the conference last year, but I know this year that I want Jon Stewart to actually choose the speakers for anything and everything I do the rest of my life. You've done a great job. Yeah, seriously. The speakers this year have been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And what I want to do, I actually have already started. I was on the phone with my mom last night, and we were talking about the conference and all this stuff, and Hayes really inspired me deeply to step up with that. I know with my university, I've been working with our sustainability club in trying to get some grants and some funding to put solar panels on our schools. We've been doing a lot of different programs with light bulbs and changing how the students interact with their air conditioning, with water and things like that. So for me, I'm starting at a university level, and I'm trying to work from that base. And at my council level, I'm trying to get them to put a compost in the back. They're so wasteful in Central Mass, it's ridiculous. So that's what I'm really starting at that level, of just trying to grassroots movement of getting youth and college students together to really make a change and push back on that and push back on the leadership of the world around me.
Great. Maddie?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what Andrew said. I did not come last year, so this is a new experience for me. Yeah, I'm definitely going to take, like he was saying, he was talking to his mom. My mom is a very difficult person sometimes. She is very fond of her styrofoam plates and all of that good stuff. So yeah, I feel a little bit more inspired to maybe take some more stuff back and try and convince my hard-headed mother. I'm sure you guys remember hard-headed mothers. That there's more that we could do. She does drive a Prius, though, so that kind of validates a little bit.
There you go.
So she's going both ways there. I'm not sure what she's doing. But yeah, taking it back and then taking it back to my council, because I'm from Alabama, like you said earlier, and down in Alabama we don't always think about everything, and actually I believe there are some laws in place that make sustainability kind of hard. So go back and talk to my council. I've been introduced to a lot of ways that, as from a business standpoint, it would benefit our council to do, because we are very wasteful, very wasteful. Yeah, and then just trying to figure out how I can encourage other people to do so, and to kind of spread the knowledge, because I think that's where it comes from, is people don't really understand what it means, what the impact is, and what this has as the future of the earth and for humanity. And so I think that's a big part of where it starts, is figuring out how to educate people.
True. And I know through the BSA headquarters and the national council and the local councils, as you may have read through the report, there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to be doing to try to affect, from a national and a local level, what the BSA is doing and how we're going to move forward. And so, this next year, we're going to be looking at what are the areas that we can tackle and then start measuring it and hold ourselves accountable. So it's exactly what you're talking about. It's putting something out there and then going and achieving it and measuring yourself to see if you are achieving it. So Larry?
One thing specifically that I took away from here, especially as a Subaru driver myself, from yesterday when Mr. Tom Easterday, okay, I'm sorry. There's been so many speakers, so I don't remember. But the packaging, I never have thought about that one myself, is how, he was saying with the toilet paper, how they'll just put cardboard in it so it doesn't shake around. I mean, it's toilet paper. Why does it matter? It's so stuff like that, just packaging. I've never really thought about that. So that's one thing that I'm definitely going to take from this and bring back to my team at school that I work with. I work with CU Recycling. So that's something that I'll definitely bring back to them and see how we can change how packaging works that comes in and comes out of my university. Mm-hmm. So that's just one thing specifically.
Great.
I too drew a lot from the presentations yesterday. I really didn't know how large industry was invested in sustainability, like Subaru and especially Walmart. I had absolutely no clue that they were so invested in that, and it was amazing that to think with Subaru, every time we throw something in the trash, that's more contribution to a landfill than Subaru has put out in like 12 years. And I think encouraging that sort of thing. I know my city where I'm from just started a recycling, like a citywide sponsored recycling program, but I actually saw last night that they had a post saying for recycled water bottles, you can't include the caps on them because the city can't process that. But Subaru had a solution to that. So I might look into developing something with that. And another thing that I really took away, I think with this conference, and I learned a lot about it on my trip to Antarctica, I met the CEO of a company called the Carbon Neutral Company. And basically what they do is they go to schools, they go to families, they go to businesses, corporations, everyone that wants to be carbon neutral. And they basically, by investing money, you can give this company money and they find certain projects like wind farms or solar energy production, and they essentially will invest enough to offset the carbon emissions of whatever you're doing. Obviously, going to Antarctica, that's a lot of air mileage and a lot of boat mileage. And while it's for a very good cause, there are some legitimate impacts to doing that. And so what Robert Swan has done and what his organization has done is that every trip they go on, they make it 100% carbon neutral for every person that's going. And so I think that's something that, that could be looked at being carbon neutral from like the individual perspective all the way up to like the BSA, ultimately trying to shoot for that.
Great. Of course, now one of the things that you're probably hearing consistently from each of our panelists is what John Picard, I called it, he said the power of one. And that applies not just to sustainability, but other types of movements that have occurred. And so, this is something that we can all do. And what I'd like to do is open it up for any questions that you all might have for our panelists.
I guess we're not that interesting.
That's because you shared everything already. Okay, in the back.
Hold on, got a mic. My name is Alex Call. I'm a student at the University of Texas. And my question is, as youth members in Scouting, what do you think that we can do to incorporate teaching sustainability and imparting the values of sustainable living with young people in Scouting? Can we work on advancement requirements? Are there other ways that we can integrate it into the organization?
I'll start that.
Go ahead.
I think initially you just got to bring it back to your troops and talk to. It's going to start. The younger you teach the scouts, the more effective it's going to be. If you start teaching kids who are working on their tenderfoot or second class, you teach it to them then. They might not take as much from it initially, but in the long run, I think that's what's going to make the effect on the youth. Is because as they grow up, they're going to realize that this is what we need to do, and I think that's where it all starts. Is the younger you can go, the more effective training will be.
True.
I think they've made a couple good moves already, the BSA, especially creating that sustainability merit badge and the fact that that's one of the EAGLE required options. That's huge because that means that's so much exposure that Scouts are now going to have the opportunity to get to sustainability that they probably wouldn't have gotten before. I think, the sustainability badge could really use some promotion. I know it's very new, and so a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to get it yet. But I know, like at my personal council camp, I don't think it's being offered, and I don't think it's very difficult to offer. I just think people haven't heard of it or people don't know about it. So I think promoting for troops and councils and districts to encourage their scouts to get sustainability merit badge could be a big way to incorporate that.
Great.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm very excited about the new sustainability merit badge also. But outside of just the merit badge, I think a good idea would be, we have a lot of events every year in Scouting. It's a big thing. So to encourage sustainability and include that as part of the events, I think could be very helpful. Having recycling stations or a booth set up, or depending on the event, I know that would affect what you could do. But so many people go to those events from all different walks of the program and all different walks of life. I think that could be very beneficial also.
Well, I have to thank Robert Bixby for putting that stewardship section into the field book, and I think that's a phenomenal way to do that. However, I don't see anything in the Cub Scout program, and I think that would be a great next step, to provide that for the Cub Scouts and build that mentality with them young. They're very malleable at that age, and mold them to this mentality young. And that way they'll be able to come into the Boy Scouts ready to go. They know what stewardship is. It's a no-brainer. They go off to Philmont. They go off to Sea Base. None of these are ever a problem, and they're able to reinforce that. So I think the Cub Scout program should be our next attack.
Great. I think we've exhausted. Oh, you have one more question?
Oh, sorry, microphone's coming back there. You're looking good, by the way. Hey, my name's Sean Weiler. I'm from Spokane, Washington. And from what you guys are saying, one of you is from Colorado, New Jersey, Alabama, and I forget. Boston. So we're pretty much around the country. Let's say we have an idea that works in one part. What's a great way to communicate our idea so it works nationwide?
I think one thing that would really be great, and it's not hard at all to implement with the 2041 trip. There's an alumni Facebook page, and if we created something like that for the 2014 Sustainability Summit, that's just a really easy way for people to come together and to keep in touch and to, you know, either ask for advice or on your project or whatever you're working on, or to share, hey, I just did this here, it's working great, and I think it could be, you know, implemented in other places. And so that's just an easy medium for people to, you know, come together, share information.
Yes, Tim.
I have a question for the panel as well. I don't know if I'm loud enough to not need a mic.
Hold
You're
on,
good.
it's coming,
Yep.
it's coming.
And I can repeat it, this question as well.
I will. Part of what Dr. Hornaday was about was open wide to youth, all gateways to nature. He felt that youth were the ones that could change the attitudes of the American people. His examples that he put out for the medal were those youth that would go out and change bag limit laws and create wildlife preserves. You're the youth leaders in Boy Scouts. How can BSA improve the ability to reach out to our country? And how can you as youth leaders guide us as an organization to spreading the conservation sustainability message to society in general?
I know for one thing, I'm on a task force that deals with working with the summit and improving that program. And we sat with Dan McCarthy back in July, and we talked about the new paradigm of high adventure and the mentality of finding a program that reaches out to those inner city kids, those kids that don't necessarily go camping. And so I believe that the summit can be a phenomenal resource for that in attracting those youth. And by adopting a lot of those things, the 4 pillars, the tenets, specifically sustainability, that the summit lives by, I think that's a great way to implement that to those kids and make that accessible to them. And I think through all of us just getting involved in those programs and having the opportunity to affect programs such as the summit is a great way to provide that.
That's good. Let's put our hands together for Alex, Larry, Maddie, Andrew, and Marianne. Thank you, Marianne.